that may appear in this book are my own, and do not reflect the work of the translators or any other person. It is a Herculean task to translate a technical work into another language, especially when that work is attempting to describe an inherently physical topic, such as swordsmanship, that is best understood with sword in hand, rather than with words on a page. Those who undertake it, and particularly those who graciously gave permission for their work to appear in this book, have my profound thanks. Quotations are used with express permission, and may not be reproduced or transmitted without the permission of the translator or relevant copyright holder. Chapter 1. We're all sword geeks here. As a young man, I desired to learn armed fighting, including the art of fighting in the lists with spear, poleaxe, sword, dagger, and unarmed grappling, on foot and on horseback, armoured and unarmoured. Fiore de Libere. Fiore, 2017, page 1R. This is a book about history, and specifically the history of weapons, but it is likely different from other books you may have read on the subject. Books about weapons tend, in my experience, to fall into two categories. The first are the coffee table books, which present weapons as art. They are filled with oddities such as axe pistols. Their pages drip with jewelled hilts and engraved blades. The second are the history books, which present weapons as a means to some other end. How certain weapons and armour influence the military history of a given period, perhaps, or the socio-political consequences of different methods of waging war. These are perfectly valid approaches to the topic of historical weaponry, but neither approach quite sees weapons as weapons. Amidst the appreciation of intricate craftsmanship and larger historical significance, a much more basic question remains unanswered. How do you actually use the darn things? This book is about that question. How were medieval weapons used? We will take the perspective not of the artist, nor of the general, but of the person actually holding the sword. You've never read a history book quite like this one. This book discusses the use of 8 weapons, or weapon combinations, from the late Middle Ages and early Renaissance, selected with an eye toward their iconic status in popular culture. We will cover the use of the longsword, the sword and buckler, the sword and shield, the sword and cloak, dagger or second sword, knives and daggers, great swords, spears and other thrusting polearms, and poleaxes, halberds and other cutting polearms. We will also talk specifically about the use of these weapons in and against armour and in war, and how those contexts do and do not change the way weapons are used. We will not cover mounted combat or combat with ranged weaponry, except tangentially. This is not to marginalise either topic, and I quite understand that the interaction between hand weapons and horses and missile weapons are of significant historical interest. Alas, mounted and ranged combat is simply too far outside my own expertise to do them justice, so their treatment must await another author. Why does any of this matter? In one sense, it doesn't. You don't have to know how to swing a sword to appreciate it as art. The differences between various nations' martial arts styles have rarely, if ever, changed the outcome of a war. If all you care about are high-level trends and concepts, there is a colourable argument to be made that the ins and outs of weapons usage have no real historical significance. Of course, medieval martial arts were an important part of medieval culture to medieval people. How they used their weapons sheds light on their attitudes, behaviours, and even the way they chose to organise themselves. But to be perfectly honest with you, high-minded intellectual curiosity is not why this book exists. This book exists because swords are cool. There, I said it. The real genesis of this project is in games. When I was a teenager, my friends and I played a lot of tabletop role-playing games, such as Dungeons and Dragons. We were storytellers, and we crafted long-form collaborative storytelling experiences that spanned years of real time, full of intrigue, emotions, and daring do. The one part of these games that never quite satisfied me was their combat rules. I didn't just want to know that Calaraine hit an orc with her longsword. I wanted to know how she actually swung it, and why, and what the orc was doing at that moment.